They did not, were not signed up. And he didn't even start the challenge until Wednesday. And he basically pulled, 3 or 4 all-nighters and built an incredible ecosystem and came out of nowhere. And like I was telling Cash Money Kev when we opened up 20 minutes ago, um, I think I know for a fact that I did get teary eyed. I mean, I showed my entire family. I made my kids look at the screen, I made my husband look at the screen, but he had taken a screenshot of when Daytona put over $20,000 in his account, and he was showing that balance off. It was so freaking cool. I was doing such a freaking happy dance, and it was awesome because, you know, I don't
Yes,
know
and
if
of course, Tiny
I'm not
Tom,
one
congratulations.
that would be used to getting a $20,000 check anytime out of the woodwork, and just having that deposited into your account, feeling like Charlie Bucket and knowing that that was going to displace all of the, you know, costs associated with your business, and that that money could be allocated somewhere else, and that you were able to use it to build something truly amazing. And that was such a profound moment because it was right there, right on the screen. It wasn't AI, it was totally real. And in that moment, that man had 20 grand in his pocket from, you know, this contest. And that wasn't just all. I mean, that was only one little snippet of his prize, but it was such a win. And it was so much fun to see his entire community that has never been to Ideas to Impact, never been in the hackathon, not even crossed paths with most of you. These were all his DGen friends that are used to flipping JPEGs and dabbling in the dark arts of pirate money. They came out of the woodwork and were like, dude, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this win? How'd you pump your bags? When Lambo, when did this go up? And he's like, no, dude, I did a hackathon and I won. And I was like, hell yeah, you did. Pardon my French, that way, pulling that one out like Star Boss. Um, at any rate, I want to test tech in schools. We do have the live stream up. So if you want to pass the good word to everybody else, and then we're going to do the round robin. Everybody that's on stage gets to show off their handiwork. I know Star Boss is laughing because she knows, she knows, she knows. Um, Tech in schools. I am assuming that Ross is behind the avatar. How are you, my love? Happy Wednesday.
How are you? How's it work? I had my computer crashed for like a little bit, so we're getting back on. So if you were looking at the live stream, it crashed. It's back. Well,
Excellent.
almost.
There it is. I see it. I'm going to have to do another one then. Well, maybe it'll just kind of filter its way through. So, Ross, tell me something. Um, I already know your days after hackathon were insane. Um, some of the things that you've been talking about last week. Last week we did all of the things to connect and make everything work. Um, when you're thinking about this entire season, what are you most proud of? And I'm going to ask the same question to Cash Money Kev before we start talking about um, the projects in general, because obviously we're all proud of that. But you know, what is the one takeaway that you're looking at and going, how am I going to put a nice little bow on season 9? What were your wins, each of you? What were your, I think I'm going to reevaluate some stuff. And what are you just so insanely proud of? And I hope that everybody that comes up on stage to show their projects also answers the same questions, because it is something that, we want to know, and that we're all in church today and everybody's giving a testimonial. You might even get dunked at the end of it, dunked twice, because, if you're from the South, you know what I mean. So at any rate, Ross, what are you most proud of, hon?
I think for me, having you guys actually focus on something rather than just be unfocused and trying to catch up all the time, being focused and driven by the challenge at hand. It was kind of this incredible precursor to what was actually coming a few weeks down the line, which was the hackathon. And I think it was really nice to see everyone actually try to build something and actually do it to the point that it could actually be sent out to people for them to get paid. Because I think the thing that draws a lot of people back from actually making money on the internet is not even how good you are at coding or how smart you are or how business savvy you are. I think it's way more than that, but also a lot less than what people think. So by way more, it's everything. It's like docs, your website, the hosting, can people in China get it? Can people in Europe get it? All that. But then it's in its simplest form, simply just a page with a stripe button. And a lot of people forget that that's actually also good. And you could wrap that all around like a bunch of code and website, which you guys learned in the hackathon. But a lot of people, they get caught up in the like shiny, cool new thing to build. And then they waste their time and they just spend months and months and not actually put anything out in the world that people can actually buy. And that I think is the hardest part of doing this stuff is you just feel like you're standing in front of like a huge giant gap between what you want to do and where you are. But in actuality, it's the smaller steps and the incremental buildup of your online presence and then cultivating and building around that. And so you see examples of this all around you, by the way, all over the internet, people doing it bad, people doing it good. And the more you understand the impact of like a clean online presence that gives a good environment for your services to exist and be sold, then you'll understand how to make money on the internet. And these challenges or classes or seasons or whatever you want to call them, they help get you there a little bit easier. And so it was, I think the biggest win is all of you were just like, oh, let me clean up my web presence and actually get a way for someone to pay me. And that is probably the one and only reason why season 9 exists. And you all did that. So that was the biggest win.
I had to figure out how to turn off the soundboard before I could talk. Um, it is interesting that you say, you know, um, really concentrating and focusing. One of the things that I learned through the hackathon, especially, is that sometimes we have to sit on our hands and not help you, which is the hardest part, because our first two sessions of every season are basically, let's figure out what we're using, let's make sure we have all of our accounts, let's make sure that we all have our passwords. And basically it's the equivalent of when you go to kindergarten and everybody has a loop that they have to hold on to when we're walking down the street at the field trips and such. What was so cool for me is to watch people say, you know what, I actually understand this, and then go and do the hackathon, sink or swim. We had so many, and I cannot express how many emails behind the scenes from really big companies and really unexpected people, absolutely gobsmacked at two things. One, how many people this was there. We only had 150 people, right? The percentage of how many people this was your first hackathon or your first season, because I say season, kind of loosely, because this is basically the culmination, or the hackathon was the culmination of 9 seasons, right? You're testing, your ability, because most of the folks have been here since the beginning, whether you're taking every season or just, kind of a la carte here or there. But most of you, I think we all knew ahead of time. But they were absolutely floored by how many newbies we had who had no experience being a dev or what we would consider a programmer or a coder, and how many women participated. That was absolutely stunning. And when you think about the top 8 or even just the top 15, more than half were women. And I know that sounds kind of odd for me to pick out. But our friend Morgan, she was the only female at the Boink hackathon the week before. It's usually traditionally a certain demographic. And for many times, women, especially women of the demographic that we have, which is 40 and over, you know, when you think about how many people were involved, um, we had such an interesting, cross section of, you know, society as a whole. And that very seldom happens. And as a result, because we had such diversity, we had all age groups represented, we had, you know, all genders, all backgrounds, everybody, this big melting pot. What ended up happening was our Slack channel was just a fun place to be. People, the camaraderie on the timeline, the people coming out of the woodwork to help each other. And I think that's a testament to our ideas to impact, honestly. I think that, for 9 seasons, you have all helped one another build each other up. Sometimes you're the pigeon, sometimes you're the statue, sometimes you get the opportunity of a lifetime to teach somebody else. And other times you're like, I don't get this at all. And someone comes out of the woodwork and says, hey, this is the one thing that I actually understand. And I'm going to teach it to you because it's the one thing I got. And I just think that's really, really cool. Cash Money Kev, what are you most proud of? And then we'll go to Gnostic.
I'd say honestly, it was setting up all of these edge functions in Superbase because I didn't realize at the beginning of my project that I needed all this interaction in the backend just for a domain exchange marketplace. I thought it was a lot simpler. Uh, that's just the naivety, not knowing part of the journey. But as I learned and I was just using AI, I got to make, let's see, I'm counting them right now. I made 10 edge functions and I have like an automated escrow system that I made. And it took so long to make. And it validates like the DNS when people actually transfer the ownership through this Whois database for domains, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Who
And
is and I can. Yep.
yep, yep. And then it like automatically, once everything's cleared, then buyer the buyer's money gets sent to the seller's account, and it's all through Stripe. And I've kept it and Superbase, and I've kept it very light. I'm not charging an egregious fee for the escrow system that I coded, which I could and most people do. But yeah, I I think that's what I'm most proud of, and I kind of just did it with AI and kind of trudging through the trenches by myself and not stopping at points where I definitely could have.
I think that's awesome. That's the other thing too, is that you don't always know what you don't know. You know, Behind the scenes, you just think, oh, I just bought a domain name at GoDaddy. You don't really think about, there has to be an escrow account. I learned about that part of it actually from Blockchain. I think that their clawback feature is something that um, anybody that works spec work, anybody that does like consulting for anybody that does anything that requires, you creating something, like a designer that creates a portfolio or a piece of artwork, um, and then hands it off to your client, and then sometimes they can run away with it. Sometimes you'll build something and then you hand it off to the client goes ahead, broadcasts it, and you're left holding the bag because they aren't going to pay you, right? These are the kinds of things where you have an escrow account that you can claw back that work and claw back, the payments and things like that. So your client would actually have to put the money in escrow before you even begin, in that way. And I think it's very, very, it keeps both sides honest. It's a trustless system. And I think more people need to do that in a decentralized way. And your project illustrates that. And I think it's great that you're solving it, because I know that I hit a brick wall in thinking about it through my own project. And I thought, I really don't know how that's going to be. And then every speed bump you hit, Cash Money, I was like, dude, I understand that pothole. I'm so glad that he put a construction barrel over it. So yeah, I think that was really great.
And Sarah, like I said at the beginning of the season, I'm going to give you the repo too. So if you want to make your own, you can do it. You don't have to deal with all the you know nuance of the super base stuff. I'll make sure the schema is all set, so you just have to run an easy SQL code.
Well, I can't wait till I invest in it because I think that's the other thing that's delightful when you buy things that um, people build. There's something really awesome. It's like growing your own tomato in the garden, and your friend has all of the zucchini that they could possibly want, and then you get to exchange hands, and you get to buy something from somebody else. I think it's really awesome. Gnostic, your hand is
And
up. How
and
are
real
you, my
quick,
dear?
Sarah,
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to mention real quick, and then we'll go to Gnostic. Uh, Everybody can sign up and make an account right now, and I'll make sure that anybody that signs up and tests, the capability of the website and messes around, tries to list a domain, I'll make sure you guys get verified as a seller through the admin dashboard. I also made an admin, a seller, and a seller dashboard. So I made two dashboards. Uh, it was insane. And this is definitely not a microservice. I mean, I guess it is in a way. It could have been some insane AI integrated project that I could have gone with that would have been more complex, but this is my version of a microservice, I guess.
It's like a microservice in the sense that, hey, here's a piece of souffle. By the way, I had to learn how to build the souffle. It's like, yeah, you can have the slice of whatever delicacy I have done, but yeah, it's the never-ending project. I get it. I totally understand. I'm glad you did it first. Um, Gnostic, your hand is up, and then we're going to invite people. You need to have your links up top. Like I said, if
Yeah,
we
I
don't
would
have
say
anybody,
there's two
yeah.
ways. That put the links up top, but I hate going to Twitter, so I would
No, we
say
want to go to Slack
go
channel.
to
We want them
Slack
live.
channel and put it there. But even better, come join the stream party and join us, and you can do your own project.
That's right. All right. All right. Gnostic, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I was sort of laughing at your comment about the the types of people and the, different, like guys, girls, blah blah, number of women in it. Um, One of the problems with women going into anything that has to do with programming and all the rest of it is their minds don't work the same way as men's minds.
Yep.
And the I mean, I mean, typically the kind of biological psychological process for men is men, when playing a video game, the big joke is they ignore everything else. Well, but men tend to focus very heavily on one thing, and that's their strength and their concentration to sit down and do it. And that's a strength at sometimes. At other times, well, when you're sitting there with your girlfriend playing a video game and ignoring her, that's not very good. Girlfriends tend to get a little pissed off at that and go, "You like that more than you like me," and that does not go over well in a relationship. And we're a little slow on the pickup side trying to do that. So it's kind of like, you know this 4-lane super highway that's traveling 200 to 300 kilometers per hour. You don't change direction very easily, and you kind of wish women understood that. But it does mean that programming and all the rest of the stuff, you go right down the street. For the women, it's like a 16-lane highway, not quite high speed, maybe 120, going all lanes simultaneously, but it's easy to switch lanes, and changing direction is a heck of a lot easier than 300 kilometers per hour down a 4-lane highway. So women have a flexibility that men don't in that, but it does mean that they don't focus down as deeply or as far as men do to sit down and do it. So they need a different approach in order to sit down and learning. So having you and other women in there teaching tends to overcome that. I don't want to call it a limitation, because believe me, I'd love to be able to do 16 things simultaneously. I just can't do it. Um,
Well, it's interesting. You bring this up. Um, I think that there's
can I
sometimes we just, oh, finish
can
your
I
thought and then
what
go
I
ahead.
was going to finish is that monolithic high speed, go down in one direction. Other men can pick up on and sit down and focus, and they can sit down, pick it up, and off they go. With women, all of a sudden, if they get left behind, all of a sudden they feel inferior, left out, overwhelmed.
Oh, I think you're dropped, friend.
Sorry about that. I just got a phone call.
That's okay.
They feel overwhelmed, all the rest of the stuff, and there's nobody there to sit down and say, "That's okay. Let's go back to base one." And one of the things that I learned in engineering, we drove a math professor crazy, because we just we realized he's not lecturing about something in the process of what he's doing, and we're doing 3D calculations and matrix analysis and a whole bunch of other things, but there's something missing. And so we basically, as engineers, just went, what's missing, narrowed it down to this thing, and then headed on that topic. I've never seen a professor lose his temper so fast, so quickly in my entire life. He was just, you people are so stupid, so dumb, so blah blah, all the rest of the stuff. And we're like, we don't understand what you're doing here. Like what is it that you're doing in this topic right here, right now, at this point? And we realized afterwards, we talked to a couple of other people in the department. This was his area of weakness when he was in university. Like, he was a TA, and we talked to his old professors and everything. And the professor's response was, he never did understand that shit. So we had somebody
Watch your
lecturing us.
language, just so you know.
So
No swearing.
he didn't understand the process that he was trying to lecture about. And this is a weakness for a lot of people. But as soon as you addressed that and got him to do it, it was next to impossible to get him to focus on that area. He actually walked out, and we assigned everybody classes to sit down and do the rest of it ourselves, because it was untenable to have him doing it. And it never dawned on me until that point that the women in the class were actually the ones that led the entire process of, we don't understand this. But you're talking women engineers who are a different class unto themselves about sitting down and focusing and wanting to understand things. So the issue of having you, Sarah, and several other people here in the classes sitting down and working on it gives a balance and gives women the feeling that at least they can be heard. And in a lot of cases where it's men lecturing by accident, purpose, or whatever, um, women tend to feel left out in that environment, particularly in computer science and everything else, which is a highly linear, logical process. Um, and the focus, it's done. I mean, once it's done, I mean, women can do a whole bunch of stuff that men can't do, and simultaneously do a whole bunch of different things. It's just a balance in how the brains work in each one. And with women doing the lecturing, it seems to go a lot better, and women tend to say, I like this a lot better. So you having
Well,
women show up is a big thing, a really
you're
big thing,
bringing
by
up
the
an
way.
interesting point. One, I'm the mom to a mechatronics major. Right. So not only is she mechanical and electrical, but she's also a programmer, and she'll kick the snot out of anybody in class. It's different when you grow up around people that say, you know what, I don't care how you think. I just want you to show up. And that's a big difference.
Total difference,
Sometimes,
yes.
yeah. But in terms of, what some people are good at and some people aren't, I think it was less about the women in the room and more about the novices that didn't know what the barriers were.
That
If
that
you
would
sit
be
in a
that would have been
classroom,
my second one,
yep,
is sitting down. You've got a bunch of novices that basically are
they
stumbling
don't care.
and don't
Yep.
know, and they don't care because everybody's learning, and all of a sudden you've got a whole
Well,
class of
no, it
people that are
has
learning.
nothing to do with that either. It's not even about in a hackathon scenario. It's not even about that. It's that they haven't been told. Let's say you have to use Boolean logic. They haven't been told you have to use this a certain way. They're just looking at it going, I'm going to use it for this way. Anything can be a hammer. And that fresh and innovative way of thinking is something that is not, doesn't have the constraints of an elitist kind of academic way of thinking. And I think hackathons are breaking the legacy systems and paving the way for just everyday Joes to create extraordinary things. And but it is very interesting that you bring it up, Gnostic. We have a lot of people here that are neurodivergent, so they don't even fit in any category that a legacy system, you know, would kind of want to, pigeonhole them in, right? So, I think that's one of the things that I think was interesting. But by and large, you know what? Just like money goes where it's loved. And if you create an environment where all people feel welcome, then all people are going to show up. And when all people show up, you have a very interesting event. But I saw that Starbucks came up, and I'm really glad that you brought up your thoughts. And, it's definitely interesting. We all sit and chit chat and ask ourselves why. I will tell you, in our household, well, I always had brothers. So, you know, um, yeah, I didn't do the typical route, but Star Boss, go ahead.
Hey, Sarah, thanks for having me up. I am Happy to be here, and thanks for letting me jump up here for a second. I really enjoyed the experience of the hackathon a lot. It was really fun for me to try to see what I could do. Like, I was really looking forward to, you know, um, trying to see if how far I could push it and if I could break anything. But honestly, it was really fun to just try to figure out the challenge. And, I did miss a couple of seasons, and that's okay. I mean, I did what I could, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So I hope that you guys can show my app or my landing page at least. I didn't get a microservice done, but and my Siri's on my computer. I gotta shut it off, man. It's so
First of all,
weird.
I actually had you queued up, so feel free to talk about it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, good. All right, so my goal here
Here,
was
just 2
to
seconds, Starboss.
yes.
Can you turn the Siri off in the background? I
Is it
just wanna
off now?
I think so.
Did it go off? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure it's crystal clear for the recording
Yeah,
because your story
no
is actually
worries.
very cool.
Okay, so I just thought I would try doing the hackathon just because it was there, and it was good for me to push myself to the next level and to put together tools I've never played with before. I've never interacted with. So I don't know. How far do you want me to get into detail? I just really wanted to my goal is to create an AI powered healthcare app that is patient centric and that is care team centric to that patient. So it's actually, I have two target customers. One is a patient, and then the second would be healthcare teams, and then healthcare systems. So um, I went through 5 years of rehabilitation from a traumatic brain injury from a car collision. And I was homebound for several years due to the conditions that I had. And I really feel very strongly that um, AI power healthcare in a home environment is really important. And a lot of the therapies that I had could actually be executed in a home environment under the care of a care team, or even just being monitored with in tandem with your AI powered agent. So you would be prescribed the therapies through your portal that belong particularly to your conditions, and your AI would go along with you on your journey of going through your therapies and doing your homework is what it's called, and you have a lot of it. And so it will direct you and watch you as you go along, and it will record your data, and then it would distribute it to your healthcare team in real time so that all your medical team can see all your progress simultaneously. And another thing that's really come to my attention just since this hackathon, and really thinking about persistence of data, and persistence of conversation with the AI was one thing, and I learned a lot. Like, you have to token gate it. So what I did here was I picked a couple topics, I put in articles, I did create a fin intercom interface, and I did some work on there too. So you should be able to answer some basic questions here on some of the topics, and then it should be able to take you into like learning more about the different services and stuff like that. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's made me think a lot. So I recently learned that in hospitals and stuff like that, that the hospitals are not required to keep your medical data past 10 years. So let's say in my instance, 10 years from now, with the kind of head injury I have, I probably won't remember a medical procedure that I've had, right? And so for me to be able to like have access to like longevity of information for the long term of my care would be really important. And then having everybody know the data or have access to it is also important. So I thought I would do it through like, for children or for adults. So that's kind of what it's about. So I was just sort of like, seeing what my AI agent could do. And I just thought it would be like a nice greeting for like my landing page. And I created a character. I got to use Runware, which was really fun. And I made an image that I have an actual .com address for that actually is on the lunar surface. So that's Lunar Volts, and that's the name of my AI agent that greets you until I intercept after a couple of interactions if the the question and answer can't figure it out. But the long-term goal would be able to build a healthcare app. And what I would do is Galaxy Star Network, my logo, if you remember, that was one of the things that I took a very long time to make because it's very specific to my healing journey. And so east, north, south, and west all stand for different parts of the journey. And it should be on my web page. I did have my logo here, but it got lost somewhere during the journey. But so that is specific to um want committing to wanting to get better and all the steps that it takes to be able to get better. And so I captured all of that, and I created a lifestyle healthcare app that I'm going to do mini stacks on for the lifestyle app. So it could be budgeting, it could be meal planning, it could be timeliness, it could be any of the things that are associated with each one of those directions. So east is doing your daily activities. North is about eating well, having good habits. South is about leaving your house. I struggled with leaving my house. I couldn't leave my house for about a year and a half or 2 years. And I worked very closely with my medical team, very closely, speech, occupational therapy. Um, I mean, you name it, all of them. And so this I'm speaking directly from my direct experience and from my heart. I know that this is something that can help a lot of people. 250,000 people a year get a head injury in the United States alone. So, and suppose, I mean, so, we have to think about all these things. There's more than just car accidents where people, get head injury or trauma or PTSD or any of those kinds of things that I'm addressing here on this app proposal. So, anyways, I don't know what else I could really say at this point. So you follow the directions. It's a lifestyle app that could be mini stacks. So that's my next step. I have a couple of things in the background that aren't really communicating to each other. So I need a little unraveling there, and then I could just proceed with populating the buttons and making continuity between my web page and fixing all those types of things. But man, the hackathon was awesome. It was really awesome. And I just want to say thank you for letting me participate because my only goal was to finish as best as I could. And I gave it my all. I honest to God, I worked on that thing for 10 hours a day, easy. Even if I just sat in front of it and stared at it and go telling myself, I know the answer. Um, I'm like, it's got to be something easy. So I hope that I showed what you can do when you don't really know a whole lot, and I hope that I demonstrated that I've learned a lot watching these classes, taking the classes, and just even sometimes when I'm listening in, I'm still learning. So I just want to say thank you. And I hope that I demonstrated to you all that I have actually learned a lot in the last year. Thank you.
I am so freaking geeked and I'm so excited about one, how far you went, how cool it came out, just in general. And I want to tell you something too. I talk to Starboss almost every day and multiple times in some days. And the entire hackathon week, because I was a judge, I did not speak to Starboss. I would just log in and see her vibe coding. And I knew that she had a good night. Every time I logged in, I thought, I'm going to look at Starboss's timeline and I'm just going to see how she's doing, because you become very, in sync with your pocket family. What was so fascinating to me is that, we were talking earlier about different ways and different styles of addressing a problem. You know, Starboss, she doesn't talk a lot about being a teacher before a drunk driver stole her life. But the idea of a rubric, the idea of having, the hierarchy that you have when you are a teacher. You learn a certain way of deciphering the problem and reconstructing and deconstructing. And one of the things I found absolutely fascinating is how she approached this entire project. It wasn't just season 9 because she was working on that too, but because Ross, Nick, and Alisher were really smart. Yeah, the hackathon came together in 48 hours, but the sole mission of this entire season was to get you into the Hatch program. Come hell or high water, we were going to get you in the Hatch program. And those that finished have something that they can actually put into the hopper and be considered at DigitalOcean. Getting into the Hatch incubator at DigitalOcean will change your life. Martin, when he came in here and spoke to us, you know, you're at the top of that slush pile. And so, you know, focusing on a full project for a hackathon, you have more than what you need to be put at the top of the slush pile. And what was really fascinating is how Ross gave, your daily check-ins, your daily challenges. Just like with this season, you had to think small. The first thing that we said was aim small, miss small. If you aim at something very small and you try to solve that one problem, then you're going to end up solving that problem, right? Because you can't miss it, And that is one of the things that I thought was so fascinating. Starboss came in and she's like, "Hey, you know what I did? I didn't know any of these things that he was asking us to do. So I just put it all into my large language model or into my AI. And I said, hey, I have to meet all of these criteria to make sure that I'm doing it." And the way that it was reverse engineered was so freaking brilliant to me, because that's not how I would have approached the problem. And yet, and there it was. And it was so well done. And it wasn't just Starboss that did stuff like this. Julie did something fantastic. You know, Julie welcomed in grandbaby number 5, had screaming kids in the background, and was trying to come together with this idea, right? And she was toggling and noodling over something else too. And it was funny because the things that she was learning in season 9 directly related to the things that she needed, the Lego pieces to get everything to fit together. And that multitasking, I don't know what else it was, but it was really fascinating how when you have a bunch of people who they're not beholden to a certain constraint. If you grew up being a coder or a developer or an engineer or, a computer scientist, sometimes the biggest barrier to entry, I know a bazillion computer scientists. My son is one of them. He just graduated in December. And I said, look, I want to see your repo. I want to see your GitHub. And he was like, why? I don't have one. I have one because I had to do a hackathon at school, but he wasn't building projects. And and Ross and I had this conversation behind the scenes. Being a scientist doesn't necessarily mean that you've got dirt on your fingernails, right? You have to be in the sandbox, you have to do it. And sometimes you're your own worst enemy because you have a thought process that it has to be approached in a certain way. And then you have other people that say, I absolutely don't know what I'm doing and help me. And then, you have a symbiotic or a collaborative environment with your AI. And I just thought it was really fascinating because we watched that happen. I can't tell you how many times out of all of the entries, it was just so delightful to see how many people leaned into various tools and let them help them, and then they augmented that experience. I just thought it was so freaking cool. So awesome. Go ahead, Starboss.
Well, it was an interesting experience, an experiment in that way, because I wasn't really sure. I've never been in a hackathon before. I didn't know what to expect. And you know, like maybe like, you know, if I ran into a stumbling block on one thing, I would just move to a different task so I didn't waste time. So I ended up with a lot of different components too. And so they kind of started to come together, like, you know, closer toward the end. I'm like, oh, right, oh, right. And so there was a lot of like, there was a lot of uptick on the learning along the way. Plus, plus learning how to use tools that you've never used before. And I guess maybe, you know, there's strategy in all of that as well, and understanding like the thresholds of the different platforms. You know, it's hard to learn that really quickly, like when you're under pressure. You know, you're kind of like, oh, should I use it, should I not use it, like will it blow through all the tokens or not, or you know, like will it fix the thing I was hoping it could. And so you know, I just used some strategies that I thought would work, and I figured I would just kind of throw it in the hopper and see what would happen. But luckily, I didn't give it too much chaos. You know, I mean, what I gave it was pretty linear for the most part. And you know, I was just thinking back of like listening to like how like I would think to myself, what would Ross say to this AI? Like, how would he say it? You know, like, you know, just like making sure it's like really succinct, or like not extra words. I don't know. It was an interesting process. I gave it my business plan, and then I asked it to work backwards from the criteria that were in the hack, and the most important points that I needed to be able to hit. And so it was able to take all that. And it was also really interesting too, because when I went between the machine and Bolt, um it it looked at even though it got the same information, it gave the output it gave was different. So I thought that was really interesting too. So, you know, I mean, I, you know, even though I wasn't like, I mean, I was, it was just something that I ran across, and I'm like, well, of course it's going to give a different output because it's got different um strings of information on the backside of it, right? They're not both built the same, right? So it should give different information. So it was cool to like kind of compare and contrast like that, and then kind of bring it all together. So, and it just kept getting better and better. And I'm like, well, yeah, because at one point it gave me like, it made the focus be on me, and I didn't like that. And I'm like I said, I'm like, I don't like that. It needs to be like on, it needs to be on something separate. It needs to be on the topic. Like you know what I mean? And it almost like it heard me say it or something. But it was cool. It was a great experience, and I look forward to working on it some more when I can turn my direction back there. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, was I okay on everything?
You
You did
were
great.
awesome. I
Go
have one
ahead.
question though. Did you have fun?
I loved it, honestly, and I even said to Sarah, I mean, it's like I was okay. I told you guys I was so tired. I laid down in my back patio, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna rest for a few minutes. And I woke up like 2.5 hours later, and like my whole back was burnt. So I slept so good that I didn't move an inch. So I loved it. And I was saying to Sarah, I'm like, wow, it really got my adrenaline going. And a couple of days I lost a little sleep because I'm like, oh man, I got to be able to figure that out. And then I realized, like, there was one time I'm like, yeah, I guess I better brush my hair. And like, oh, I've forgotten to eat. So I totally get how that stuff starts to happen when you just start to really try to work your way through solving a problem. So I can really appreciate like eating pizza and all those things, and not really like, oh, it's been like a whole day and a half since I've gone and done anything. You know, I've only been working on this, but you just really want to get it done. And having the time frame was fun. And you know, I was really determined not to ask anybody for any help other than just the AI, and just reading, and just, you know, I mostly just read and just tried to figure it out. But yes, I loved it. I think I learned a lot. I Hopefully I showed you guys that I that I learned a lot from taking classes.
You definitely did. I mean, it was really cool to see you put it all together and actually present something with all the different mini challenges of the seasons, but also, the actual challenges of the hackathon. It was really awesome to watch you build, and I hope you keep building.
Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that.
That makes me so
Well,
giddy.
I'm just a person with an idea. I don't know. Somebody called me a dev, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not that. But I have a person with an idea, and I got a couple skills.
Persistence. That is one of your key skills, is that you refuse to give up. And I think that is the key to winning just life. Don't give up. Just keep moving.
Honestly. And I want to say I'm so happy for Throne for winning because I know him from another community. And I was so thrilled that he jumped in on it. And I'm so happy that he won because you can even ask him. I even asked him about helping me build this healthcare app 3 years ago. Honestly, I've been at it for that long, and I'm like, I couldn't get anybody to help me build it, so it forced me to have to learn how to do the things so that I could at least make my MVP, so I could demonstrate the point I'm trying to make. So that's where I'm at. So thank you for helping me build, and thank you for encouraging me to continue.
I love that so much. We have we have Jane, we have VR, and we have Sharon all up top. And I know that they all build something.
Well, hold on. I
Sharon,
don't know
go
who's
ahead.
ready, so they'll come to the live stream if they want to talk and show. But I know one person who's ready, and it's
I
Kashwani
am.
Kev.
Okay. Go ahead,
And
because
then
I don't have much to say.
if you're ready,
I,
you can go next, and we'll show your site too. Just do me a favor, drop the link in
I,
Slack so we have it for viewing
yeah, I'm not on my, I did,
in Slack.
I did.
I don't see it.
Yes, it's there. It's on a next post.
Oh, okay. So yeah, do you want to go right after Cash Money?
You can
Yeah,
let
but
her
I'm
go
not on
first.
my
You can let her
computer.
go
I
That's
first.
can't
okay.
go up on Streamline.
I have your link. You're good.
Oh, all right.
Yep. But I have him queued up next right here, so he's gonna chat about it really quick.
If you want, Ross, you can have her go first. But if it's easier,
No,
I can.
I just have it all pulled up. It doesn't matter. She's gonna go right after. We're gonna get to everyone.
All good. Okay. That's that my chivalry is kicking in. Ladies first. I'll be quick. Um, Let me pull up the stream on my computer because I had on my phone, and I'm lucky I can dual monitor a little bit here.
Also, Authworks. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I got the off figured out. You can sign up and log in.
I see.
Um,
Looking real.
okay.
Look at this.
Yeah, so I worked very hard to make sure the flows
This is
kind of
cool.
worked, and I kept the UI simple for now. I made it with machine. Even the logo is code for right now. I do have an actual logo, but I was so focused on functionality throughout this whole season because I realized in the past seasons, um, probably like many others feel, uh, they couldn't get the functionality for some of their projects done. So I wanted to make sure I could get uh, payments going through correctly through the escrow system. I wanted to make sure people could become sellers. I wanted to make sure the admin panel had full control and I could accept sellers, get rid of their domains if I need to, just make sure everything works as intended. And it actually, the machine did a great job lifting the heavy load on the UI and the small details. Like you can see those little good tiles of, just marketing tiles of like talking about the app. And if you go down a little bit, Ross, you can check out the marketplace. Oh, and I think, yeah, there we go. I was just, it's a little delayed. And then, um, so if you even click buy now, the buy now buttons will work. If you use the Stripe fake credit card, like the 424242, it'll go through, and I can buy and sell domains from you right now in the test sandbox. And you can see there's like it's got some cool escrow um, processing that it goes through, and it'll uh, pop up once there's actually apply to become a seller. We'll do this actually later. You can check out the docs if you like, Ross, because it's right there. Oh, okay. You got him. You got him. Got you. But it should be bringing up. Here, let me go into my side now. I have to accept it. I forgot. It'll bring up the screen. It'll verify the DNS. It'll check the registrar, and then it'll start the transfer. You'll get a code, and you send it over to the person who's buying your domain. If you don't send it, then the money will be held in escrow, and the seller will not get their payment. There's docs for it. Intercom is on the bottom right too, and it should be popping up. That yeah, it is. So yeah, it's got a lot for a microservice, but I'm very proud of how much I actually got done so far. I'd say this is about 90% set up to be like in production ready. I just didn't get around to testing a $1 transfer of a real domain from a second account of mine.
It's really good.
Finish your thought, Ross.
No, that was the thought for now. I'm clicking all the things.
I'm going to test it with one of my thousands of domains. Now, what I think is so interesting is about Cash Money Kev's project, just in general, is that on the surface, it does seem so freaking simple. And I think a lot of the projects that folks tried to build fell into the same hole that Cash Money Kev did. I mean, I think so many people. I think of Magna. He's like, dude, this got out of control. It was mission creep, is what he called it. Is that he's like, it started like, you give a moose a cookie or a mouse a cookie, and then all of a sudden, there's a tidal wave or a tsunami on the other side of the world, because it's the progressive cascading event, where you're like, wait a second, how am I going to do this? Or wait a second, it's not just a Stripe account I need. I actually need to set up a whole ecosystem, because it is game theory for some of these things. But his was really funny too, because I don't know when it was. I wish he would show up, because it was just so funny the way he put it. He's like, I just woke up one morning working on my project and realized I don't know how it got this big and ugly. And it was just so great. These are the kinds of things that happen, and it's just so much fun, because obviously it's happened to all of us, where you sat there and you're thinking, oh yeah, and this seems like the simplest thing. I just want to do this, and it shouldn't be that difficult. But then you start talking to your AI agents, and they're like, hey, by the way, did you realize that you need this and this and this? And I'm like, well, no, because that's not the problem I had. But now I have a new one. And it just kind of it multiplies, the multiplier effect. But I'm going to have to test this out. I am excited. This is something that solves my problem too, and then I have to go one step further, because in addition to escrows, I have to have the certification that says, yes, this asset is actually on the lunar surface. And yes, you're purchasing something that's living in monument mode, and here's the proof and the chain of custody of this asset. And that in itself is something that I just like can't wrap my noodle around. I'm just sit back and go, oh, Nelly, that's gonna hurt. But Cash Money Kev, I'm so proud of you. I love your project. Go ahead.
I got Ross's account. He's an approved seller now. So if you want, you can list domains. And this is so cool, Ross. I love it, Sarah. I'm stuttering because I've never gotten to test or even I didn't think I could create an escrow management system ever, before this. And now I'm staring at all these edge functions, and I was just like Epic, I was asking myself, who is who is? You know, like what is verify who is, and why do I even need this? And I have everything from you know, create payment intent to like notify seller. And so I got to give it to AI Tutor Ultra and Machine for, you know, being this detailed and knowing which edge functions I like, exactly what functions I needed for the project. And it was stressful. Literally, I have some edge functions created last updated from a month ago that were very easy to make, and then I have some literally that I was fixing from last night in the morning, spamming Ross. He can let you know how much I spammed him. But I'm very, if you can't tell, I'm very happy with how it turned out. And there's still more to come. Uh, I got to shout out Nick, and it might have been Nick. I'm pretty sure it was Nick. If it was Alistair, I'm sorry for getting mixed up in my memory. But one of the two mentioned to make an auction system, and I'll be implementing that next because that's a great idea, kind of like eBay. And so if you have a really, you know, sought after domain, people can bid on it. You know, and you can put a timer on the auction to be 24 hours to a week or a month long or however long. But
You know,
yeah,
one of the other things I was thinking about too that would be cool for your app. When I have a GoDaddy account, the algorithm already will say, for instance, like a word forge or maybe a combination of letters has a higher net value based on the algorithmic weights that it puts on. So we, you know, I looked up the word forge, and the average sale of a domain name with the word forge in it is $27,000. And so it has the ability to instantly appraise the names. So with that appraisal, having that little sticker above it saying, hey, this is what the appraisal is, it actually gives the trigger response for people to want to buy, which is very fascinating to me. I did want to mention, I see you, Scotty, and I'm giving you a giant hug. The folks that are coming up to speak are showing their projects off for our season 9 finale and for the hackathon. And so we're limiting it to the telling the stories of the wins, the losses, the gonna do betters. And I just wanted to say thank you for your presence here, because you know we're just saving the spots for folks that are showing off their projects. But I wanted to make sure you knew I saw you, because I think the world of you. All right, so we've got Jane's project next, and Jane is one of my also favorite people. Obviously, all of my Pocket family are favorite people because I keep you in my Pocket family. But Jane specifically, for many that know her, um, she's just such an inspiration. You know, she is always learning new stuff. She's always pushing us to learn new stuff. And she's just a joy to be around. And she truly is the person that will elevate the room just by showing up. And the thing that she's been working on is something that's very cool too. Jane, did you want to talk about your why? Why? What was the problem you were solving? um, how did it kind of unfold? What's the thing you're most proud of about your project? And go ahead and tell the story and go through it for the rest of your classmates tonight.
Certainly. It's really, you know, my project has been this whole time I've been here with you guys. I don't know. I skip to the beat of a different clock. So I don't usually stay on schedule. But I'm taking in the information that I learn, and I try to complete everything. The hackathon, no, I did not participate in that. I knew at the time I was not feeling well, and I also just was not prepared to participate in something like that. Although I did have to, when I took a full stack programming course, I did have to write a complete Java program and demonstrate all the stuff. So, and then be prepared to do a technical interview. So that was kind of like a hackathon because that was a really freaking stressful couple of weeks. Um, but what I have here is, and this was just because, you know, I've got these wonderful products. I have, you know, I have cPanel. As Ross said, cPanel can have as many websites as you want to put on it. I have, or not cPanel, that's Blue Ocean, but I mean, I have the cPanel connected to it. And, so I have these tools in front of me that I want to use. I was introduced a little bit to WordPress, but I decided I didn't really like it. And so I wanted to figure out how do you do a website, and I had to reach out to Ross, and he kind of walked me through some of the stuff. So we used Multibot, and then we used Machine to create the HTML code and the CSS code that would be accepted by cPanel. So got that all set up and working, and posted a web page. I think we did that all in an hour, including introductions. Hello, how are you? How's everything? Yes, fine. Okay, let's start. So I think that's pretty cool. Ross is definitely a wonderful teacher. And now I have a better understanding of how these pieces and parts are being put together. So that's my project. And I'm very proud that I have gotten this far. And I'm very happy that I have the understanding I have now, because it's just put a whole new light on everything. So, yeah, some people dance to the beat of a different drum, but that's where I'm at. And yeah, so my cause is AI stewardship, and the website is for that, and it's for something that I'm dreaming up that might take 5 years to materialize. I don't know; it may take a year. But it's a grassroots program, and I just want to get a website up and running and stuff, and encourage people in their communities to start outreach programs, to start working with families, community centers, libraries, whatever, just go and have these little sit downs with people, or maybe arrange after school activities where kids learn about AI. It's a total grassroots program all the way up to as much as you want, you want to be cybersecurity, because it engulfs everything. And so, yeah, that's my hope, is that maybe one day I'll have a nonprofit organization that will help steer the future for the generations to come, so that they don't get off on a bad foot. So thank you very much for allowing me to present my project. And like I said, it's coming along. And I thank you, Ross, for spending the time with me and renewing my faith in myself. Sometimes you need a friend to just boost you up a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Gonna make me cry, Jane. I I think so highly of you. You have no idea. And I happen to know on good authority, I'm gonna totally narc on Ross, Nick, and Alisher. They think the world of you too. I will just say that. I definitely can tell you many conversations where they're like, "Did you see what she made? This is freaking awesome." And you know what? I love that. I love the fact that so many of the folks that you are in cahoots with here in this classroom live literally on the proverbial refrigerator of Nick Alisher and Ross's heart. They have these like little fridge magnets, and all of our projects are there in pride of place. The glittered macaroni and our silly projects, and they are so insanely proud. And it's fun to watch because when they're in other spaces or they're talking to people in interviews, and your names come up, and your projects come up, um, there's a sense of pride. And it is something that is hard to put into words, but I will tell you, Jane, you have a noble, noble project. And I think there's something so powerful in we're building because we can, not because we have to. You're building because you can. You have the skills, and if you don't, you're going to acquire them. And you're building something that is relevant to you now, but also beautiful and relevant to future dwellers that you're never going to meet. And I think that is something that is so cool. Um, You always want a project that you can't finish, that you need to hand off to somebody else. Star Boss mentioned that also. She's like, I've been thinking about this thing for 3 years. And the guy who won the hackathon was the guy I was talking to in my very first spaces where I was learning how to talk again. It comes full circle, right? But he wouldn't have been able to build that app for you back then anyway. We didn't have intercom, we didn't have replit, we didn't have all of these wonderful tools. They weren't in existence, they didn't have them. And now that all of the pieces have fallen in front of us, we can start building the world that we've imagined in our mind's eye. And I think that's pretty cool. So Jane, I love you to the moon and back. I'm so insanely proud of you.
Thank you very
you,
much, Sarah. You
you make
just
me
have a
smile.
way with words, and you brighten my heart. Thank you.
Well, I'm keeping you. I've already adopted you. So you're in my pocket family forever and ever. Amen. All right. VR. I want to hear about your project. I know that you're up here and Sharon has her
He
project
is
too.
up here, and anyone that wants to go can. But if you want to present your own project, you can come to live stream. So I see VR is here. Do you want to take over and give us where we started, where we are?
And what
Sure.
you also have to say what you're also very proud of too. That's a rule.
I'm running it local and on the web.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
see. It's hard to tell.
Nice.
No, that's the local. Hold on, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. How do I undo this? Stop sharing. I mean, I could zoom in here, but I can't see it. I think. Let me check one more time. Sorry.
And then we'll go to everyone who wants. We'll go to Sharon. Everyone.
There's no crying in baseball, right? And it is one of those things. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay here until I hit all of these numbers, because back then we didn't have all the fancy computers. And so when you're dialing for dollars for 5,000 phone calls, 500 will answer the phone and maybe five will become your clients. And I had figured out how many people I had to have, how many assets under management in order to get an office and not be in the bullpen. And that was my goal. And yeah, I was there first every single morning, and I was the last to leave every single day. And I'll tell you what, I was the first to get my own office with my own name on the door. So, you know what? You're going to put in the hours, and it's always, 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 always 20 years of putting in lots of work to be an overnight success. And so, you can't judge someone else's journey. And I'll tell you, the people that do show up, I can tell you there are a handful of folks, especially during the hackathon. I didn't have to know that they were working in the background. Why? Because they had live streams. Starboss did it, Sharon did it. I think AI John had a few live streams too, but the two girls, man, I could check in and they're like, I'm vibe coding and I hate my computer. I am vibe coding and this thing sucks. I'm vibe coding and I'm not leaving here until I get it done. And it was such, you know, it was a joyous thing because they're like, I'm looking at this. I know that it's here. Julie did the same thing, staring at the screen. And there is such sweetness in that victory. You own it. No one else can own that victory. It's all you. And so I will tell you, Sharon, I'm proud of you. And you know what? Like I said, um, each and every person in the room, what someone thinks about you, you have zero control over, none. And the more energy that you expend on that, the less you have to doing the thing that you were born to do. And the thing that you were born to do is the catalyst for something that's bigger than you. And so you just have to, think about it and say, you know what, I wish you well, and leave it at that. And then just go and plug and plow forward and continue to do the thing. And you know what? Sometimes it clicks. And when it clicks, yeah, it's the 20-year overnight success. And you get that big check in your bank account, or you win like Theon did. Theon, it was so funny. Everybody's like, dude, you just swept in on Wednesday and you won the contest. You won the hackathon. You had, 50 something $1,000 worth of, stuff. And I thought to myself, Theon has been here every freaking day, whether it's in Web3, whether it's in his, ecosystem with, the various crypto folks, the folks that dabble in the dark arts, pirate money. He has been here relentlessly, never misses a day for at least 3.5 years. Starboss and I were talking about this, that I wrote the Circumfusion book in 2025, or 2022, I should say. That's when it was published in 2023. He was in those spaces when Starboss was just learning how to talk. And so that was like early, like 2021. He's sitting in on spaces and learning to code and doing the thing. And so, yeah, it took him all of that time to gain and get, acquire the skills needed to be able to swoop in on a Wednesday and take the prize on a Sunday night. So, each of you are capable of that. And that's one of the things, I mean, I don't think we have any other listeners that are going to present, and then we'll tie a little bow because the boys have to tell you what's up for the next couple weeks anyway.
I think we
But
got one more, Sarah. Just
sweet,
I don't want to put any
sweet.
pressure on her, but Julie did post hers just now.
Yeah, we do have Julie, but I gotta see if I can get her up here.
Oh, I hope so, because Julie's project is freaking awesome.
But it's there for people to see.
And I do hope that everybody takes a gander at what else was out there. But what I was going to say though is that, look, you lose your train of thought a little bit. I'm losing my train of thought. We have a lot of things, people who have acquired some incredible skills. Like I said, 9 seasons. Our average season was about 6 weeks. We had 2, I think, that were 8 weeks, right? And so it's been over a year, a whole entire year of Wednesday nights when you could be Netflixing, when you could be, doing nothing related to a screen. you've logged in and spent your 5 or 6 hours every single Wednesday night to better yourselves. And then again on Thursday morning, because some of you guys meet again for the rehash Thursday morning, which by the way, we do not have for tomorrow because today is a finale. But you know, while the rest of the world sleeps, you've burned the boats and you've showed up and you've continued to build. And so I just want to commend each and every one of you for investing in yourselves and giving yourself that tithe, that 10% above and beyond. And I hope that it does compound in interest and it makes you crazy wealthy in whatever way that looks like, currency wise, new relationships wise, new collaboration wise, new business wise, whatever it is that you uh, kind of validate and account for your success. It might be a new house, it might be a better house, it might be a car, it might just be retirement, it might be paying off your parents' house. You know, it depends on what it is that you want to work towards. But I hope that each and every one of you grab that brass ring and, you know, win the whole entire kit and caboodle. All right, so we're gonna see if we can get Julie up here. If we can't get Julie up here, I'll just
That's okay. We'll just leave it up so people can see while we're talking. But yeah, I mean, the whole purpose is to showcase what you built, so you shouldn't be afraid. Yeah, there's literally no reason not to show where you're at. So if you want to talk about it, get some feedback, please send us your link in Slack, and we will put it inside the live stream. If unless you want to join and present yourself, but just from the initial ones that we saw, everyone did such an amazing, incredible job, and you should all be excited because you're learning, and that's probably the most fun thing to do, at least from my perspective. But yeah, this is Julie's. I don't want to talk about it without her and say it wrong, but it looks like some platform to organize information for developers, which is really cool. Also, two things, minor tiny announcements. We will be taking around 2 to 3 weeks break between now and the next time we hold classes. We got to do a few things, and we have to make some new partners and prepare for planning the second ever AI Mastery Hackathon, which we're so excited to do. And because we're going to have so much time to plan, expect it to be so much better, like 100% better. And if you guys have any questions about this season, channel will be open even if the season ends. But yeah, if you have any questions or want to share, Sarah, is anyone DMing you? Because I don't want to not show someone stuff if they would like to show it.
I have nothing in the background on this side. I do want to make and point out once and for all too. I think Amanda also wants to come up and talk about what she was building, so I'll bring her up. But we are kind of closing it, so we'll just leave it at that. But Slack channel for the hackathon is always up 24/7, 365. You're not going to be kicked out of it. It's there, so you can continue to cross pollinate with your fellow hackathoners for season 9. Just like in previous seasons, every season has their own Slack channel, right? So you can continue to, you know, work on your project, you can continue to household. Now remember, and this is the only question that I had, you know, I do think that everybody in the room understands the lay of the land, but briefly, my AI tutor belongs in the ecosystem of Tech in Schools. Tech in Schools is a nonprofit organization that works with kids in the and teachers, mostly teachers, but kids in the New York public school system, where they get technology and put it in the hands of kids. And technology can encompass a number of different things. In addition to my AI tutor, which is your LLMs, your kind of, you know, the brains of the operation, or Pixio, which is the creative suite. So your picture generation and all of that. Those two are separate products, right, that are from Tech in Schools. And they offer those to the kids. So the kids have that. For every time we subscribe, a free copy goes to one of those kids or teachers. So that is the quid pro quo. And we get to play beta testers for a lot of things, but also, we fall under this giant umbrella. AI mastery is a little different. AI mastery kind of came into fruition. I'm the lore keeper and the archiver. After one of the seasons, we had all received C panels, and those are very expensive software or hardware. No, software, I guess that would be it, in our digital backpacks, courtesy of uh, who gave us the C panels? Was it DigitalOcean? I can't remember. But nonetheless, everybody got a C panel for the entire season. We've had C panels as gifts. We've had H100s as gifts. We've had $30,000 worth of GPU as gifts that are in the digital backpack where we get to play and use those tools during the course of our season. So you get all sorts of trinkets and trash, right? And they all live in the Slack channel for that particular season. But the C panel posed a problem because when folks built their websites and they built their websites on WordPress, um, we needed a place for them to live because there were a lot of people that said, "Hey, I just spent 6 weeks building this thing out and I don't want it to go away. So, how can I keep that?" And so AI Mastery kind of came into fruition. AI Mastery has grown. AI Mastery is now kind of more than just the training wheels or the bumpers in the bowling alley to make sure that we don't go into the gutter. It's become more than that, in terms of not only having the help that we need if our websites or our hosting goes down, but it has all of the classes. So that's where all the classes, it's the academy, and that's where it lives. So when we think about it, we had to have that ecosystem a little different. It's through Mighty Wet Networks, I do believe. And, there is a subscription fee in order to make sure that you keep your C panel up. I know that during that season, I think it was like $30. I think it's been moved up to 50. And the problem is that as this technology continues to cost more, the cost has to kind of come down to us, right? Although we're paying bare bone prices and a lot of times a very heavily discounted price because Tech in Schools is a nonprofit, it's still, we have to feed the machine, the proverbial machine, feed the beast. And so there are going to be a lot of times where, yes, your subscription models for Tech in Schools and Pixie are locked in. Your subscription's not going to go up. But depending on how the tools go and how much beefy things are in the background, you might have to subsidize with tokens and things like that. And unfortunately, it's just the way it goes. Having all of the tools under one umbrella and only one subscription fee saves a lot of money. If you bought all of these things separately, it would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in subscriptions per month. And most inner city kids can't, they don't, they can't even buy food, right? So and some of our folks here in the room tonight, we have people that are homeless, we have people that are out of jobs, we have people that have just lost their jobs, we have people that are on fixed incomes, we have people that are struggling, and we know that. So this is a way that a lot of people get access to the things that otherwise you can't pay for it. So some of these fancy AI tools are so flippin' expensive that the average everyday person never gets access. And so hopefully, by attending classes, you get a taste of the good stuff. You can build what you can. Saturday nights when we have demonstration nights, or if Sharon has demos in her spaces, these are opportunities where you can take advantage of really expensive tools without having to pay anything. You just have to show up. And whatever you build, you can download and keep. If maybe you're struggling, you don't have a logo, maybe you didn't have a business plan, maybe, fill in the blank, you didn't have an app, but you had 20 minutes to play with the machine on a Saturday night, and you can get all of those things done really quickly, download them, use them, try to monetize them, and then come back the next week. We have people that do that where they just come for, the demonstration nights. They have a checklist and they say, look, you know what, I have a beer budget and I have a champagne taste. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to build as I go. And when I get to that point where I am successful and I'm making money, then I'm going to have a full subscription. And then you just kind of move your way up. You don't have to have the best of the best right out of the chute. You just have to have something. And once you have something, you can, build from there. So my Astery, no, AI Mastery. Wow. Um, that is an ecosystem that you're going to want to continue because that's where the hackathon stuff is going to live. And you want to be a part of it. Of course, the foyer, you can always get into the foyer, but if you want the classes and you want the cPanel, you're going to have to marinate on what you're going to need it for. And each and every person sitting in class today has made those decisions for themselves. Some people just have Pixio. Some people just have My AI Tutor. Some people don't have either, and they just have the machine, and they, you know, live and breathe by that. It just depends on what your business plan is, what your why is. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles. You just need the one thing that gets you to the next level and helps you build the thing that you envision. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. Over the next couple weeks, like Ross said, we are having a bye week, couple weeks actually. There is no class tomorrow morning. This is the final, this is the finale, this is the season end. You all get to sleep in tomorrow. I know that's going to be weird, but you get to sleep in and hopefully maybe catch another space.
Oh,
And
Sarah, by the way, before we close out, Julie can actually talk about her
I
project.
know, I just saw her. I was just going to say, hey, by the way, Julie is up. So we're going to hear briefly from Amanda. Julie's going to get situated into her seat so she can talk about her awesome project.
Julie can actually talk about it.
Julie's talking. She's getting there. She's getting there. All right.
Can I share something real quick?
Sure. Wait, time out. Who is talking?
Jane.
Is that Jane?
Yeah.
Okay. Jane can share something real quick. Then we have to go to Amanda. And then we're going to go to Julie.
In the purple pill. If you're used to doing something at 11 o'clock tomorrow,
Oh,
there's a free course you can sign up for on prompt engineering for software development. So there you go. You got something to do tomorrow at 11. 2-hour class, free.
Sarah, do you hear me still? My phone just closed.
Yeah,
I
now
can
I
hear
hear
you.
you.
I was about
And
to
I
say,
think I think I had
wanna
turned off
test,
my mic.
Oh, you sound good, great as always, Sarah. But I wanted to test Julie's mic one more time because I think she was having some issues. One more time though. Julie, are you there?
can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect. All right. I think we couldn't hear everybody because they had Julie's mic, Jane's mic, and Amanda's mic all on at the same time. So now we are all good. Julie's mic is still live.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Julie. We're going to get to Amanda first, and then we're going to hook you up. But your mic has to stay muted in the background until
Okay.
you present. Okay. I think that's okay. All right, Amanda, fire away. Talk about, and then we'll get. Ooh, Amanda, what's going on in the background?
Fans. It's bloody hot. It's like 40 degrees. But I'll be very quick. I'm looking for something, either what I can use. Can you advise me? I would like to finish my movie, but I'm having a real problem trying to find a lip to sync that can handle 4 characters. And I use an iPad, and then I've just come up to brick wall, brick wall, brick wall. So coming to the best of the best, is there anything that you have that I don't mind paying for credits or whatever, to get what I need done? Just the lip sync, and then I can pop it all onto Bolt, and I'm done.
All right.
So I can answer that for Pixio's sake. Yeah, if you get Pixio and you get credits, you can do all the lip sync you want. And you can put it right in Bolt and it'll work.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna stream it to Vimeo, unless you know of a better one.
Nope, but you can feel free to purchase Pixio and get a bunch of credits and we'll help you out.
Cool. Thank you. there was something else there. Oh, hello. Where is she? Star Boss. We've been having nice walks with the dog. There was something else there I forgot, but I love you to the moon and back.
I love you to the moon and back as well, and I'm proud of you. And when you figure out the characters, I can't wait to see your animation. I think it's going to be very cool. I know how hard you worked on it, and I think it's very nice that you are backing the play of other people in the audience and going for the walks with Star Boss. Um, Yoda is the man. Yoda is the boss man. So he's very, very cool dog. We've gotten to know everybody else's dogs, by the way. So if you have a dog or a cat, all of your pocket family are going to know them in a minute. It's just the way it is.
You've just missed him. You've met Mr. Socks, haven't you?
I have.
So yes, my friend's dog, he was here. He'll be back in the morning. I've got a tiny bit of a sneak peek if you want me to play that,
Well,
or I
if,
can
if,
send it.
if sure, if you have it available, put it. It's better in the Slack channel, or you can put it
Yep.
up top.
Okay, no worries.
Excellent. Okay. And you're muted, so that works. Okay. We have one last project, and that is Miss Julie Todd, who is one of my favorite people. And I will tell you, I absolutely loved her hackathon thing. And I think this is something new I have not seen from you, Miss Julie. And so if you want to talk about what you built, talk through it, and then also give us your proudest moment. It can be from hackathon or it can be from season 9. And obviously we're all waiting to see
One thing
about
before
a
I totally
patent.
forget, Sarah, because I'm gonna forget.
Sure.
Everyone that was in the top 8 of the hackathon, be sure you give me your Vercel team ID, not your personal ID. It's in settings, team ID. This is really important because I would say half of you did it wrong. So double check the DM for me, please. That's it. That's it. Quick announcement. I just did not want to forget.
Yes. So please do not frack up the Vercel. It has to be the team ID, not your personal. All right. But train of thought coming back into the station. We wanted to have an update also on Paisley. Because that is the new baby, I do believe. And we want to make sure that all is well with our pocket family. But Julie, win, lose, draw, awesomes. What are you proud of? And tell us about what you built, my friend.
Can you hear me first?
I can hear you, and I love your voice. So
Okay.
it's a
There's
good
X
it's
is
a good
cutting
yeah.
in and out on me, and I am having a lot of trouble here. My computer crashed. So I'm on my phone, so I can't really share my screen, but it looks like Ross has it up on the live stream or StreamYard. This first of all, baby Paisley is doing excellent. She is 1 ounce away from being 6 pounds, and once they reach 6 pounds, apparently they're not considered a preemie anymore. So she went all the way from going down to 4 pounds from her birth weight of 5 pounds and 3 ounces down to 4 pounds. She suffered from not being able to regulate her temperature, and it caused her to go into hypothermia. And it was a scary deal where she had to be rushed by ambulance to a larger city where there is a children's NICU. And but she was there for 1 week and got actually released a little bit early. She got released on Sunday. She wasn't supposed to get released till Monday, but she was doing so well and gaining weight. And they did find out she was tongue tied, and so they clipped that, and so she's no longer tongue tied. She's consuming everything on her own, nothing hooked up to her. She's gone to her first doctor's appointment since leaving the hospital, so she's doing great. She's
That is
wonderful,
a huge answer to
and
prayer.
that is my proudest moment.
It is
I
a
have to
proud
say.
moment because you know what? The reason why we went through this and talked about it is because Paisley arrived halfway through the hackathon and all of your other
On the
grandchildren came to
yeah,
visit. And you
yeah,
decided to say, you know what? I'm going to close up shop one day and I'm going to play with kids. I'm going to play with the kids in the middle of the floor. The floor is lava. And you still
yeah.
finished it and did it. And I'm proud of you. But
Ah,
definitely tell us about what you built for season 9, though.
okay. I am a little behind on this project. Have a few little issues working out. This is called Secret Stash, and this is supposed to been for me. And since we were doing microservices, I decided to expand it a little bit. And this is supposed to help me cut down on my massive amounts of post-it notes everywhere and notebooks of all my secrets. And if you right now I know my nav bar is kind of goofy and it's kind of running into the name there on the home thing where the home button is. But if you go to the vault, you can actually go in and play with it right now and see where there is some sample data that's already in there where you can store your secrets, your passwords, your API keys, your SSL certificates, a little bit of everything on that secret vault. And then, and there's, categories set up. I may add some more, I don't know yet. I would like some people to kind of test it out and give me some feedback on some things I could add to it. I haven't really had time to play with it with everything going on. But then there's the finance page, which is a place where you can put all your monthly income, your expenses, your, all of that. And one thing that this is, none of this data is stored anywhere but on your local computer, your own computer. So it's not uploaded to the cloud or anything. So I kind of feel like it is something that's not out there yet right now. So it is completely secure and 100% local storage. Trying to think. Yeah, and you've got also your you can and it's got where you can like download your own PDFs and everything, and it kind of monitors all of that for you, where you can just kind of download if you want like a hard copy of any of the files. um, then there is the finance matrix, which oh, I've already gone over that. Okay, then there's the snippets of code, like when you've got these little, you come across some really great code that you want to store and kind of have like, you know, your CSS stuff or your just whatever, you can actually add those in and it'll, store all of that for you. Um, Trying to think. Mm, yeah, I still haven't connected. I have intercom. I'm still kind of customizing it. I don't have it connected to this project, but I will eventually get that connected. And I kind of would like some feedback on the pricing because I just put, free demonstration and then $4.97 a month. I did add in some docs where you can kind of get a quick navigation on the document page, research and all of that. Yeah, I mean, I've got the light and dark mode. I always go try to put in some kind of customization on a cursor or something. Um,
So, in addition to being proud for the baby, what skill did you summon during season 9 that kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone, but now you're looking back over the last 6 weeks? And it can be both the season or the hackathon because they kind of blended. A lot of the same skills that you learned in season 9 were embedded naturally in the challenge for the hackathon. But what was the most proud thing that you learned, like that was, maybe it was a new product, maybe it was a new way of using something, um, that kind of came full circle for you and then has now elevated your game, in terms of like, the reason I'm asking is because I'm looking through the audience to see if he's here. I don't think he is. We had an engineer who came in and said, I've been a computer scientist and a developer my entire vocation. That's my vocation. And in his turbo pack, he was given, tools that he had never played with before. And it forced him to reimagine his workflow because it was a new tool to him, and learning something on the fly like that. And he ended up walking away thinking, wow, I really got a lot out of this because I learned a new skill. And now in my profession, in my real world, this has really elevated my game. Did you have that moment for your projects? Because I know I'm actually looking through the prism of your of your hackathon project as opposed to, let's say the project for season 9, because they're both very different. But I'm just curious what your takeaway was. And now you can kind of, you know, walk down the street and listen to your Bee Gees in the background. You got your swagger going on because you did something really cool and you can huff your fingernails. What is that for you?
Uh-oh, I hope I didn't lose you.
Nope, I have you. I can hear you.
And you said it. Okay. Well, you were cutting in and out, and then it went silent there for a second. So I think um, patience is my biggest thing, is learning and trying to, when you think you have it all together and then you go to deploy and it's just one big mess. It goes from, there's one error to, you won't have anything, no errors at all in your, when you're running it locally on your VS Code, and then you go to try to hit Vercel, and then it's just one error after another. And that's been my biggest thing. And just, I mean, you can ask Ross. I don't think I've really ever hit him up for like help in any project. I just keep fighting to try to figure it out myself. That's how Ross, it makes me nervous when he is having Sharon or somebody up, and I don't care if it's AI John, whoever it is, and he's saying, click here, click that, he's telling you click everywhere. And that's not a good way for me to learn. I learn better by seeing it, making the mistakes, and just keep hashing away at it. And I've done it completely with no help from any human, just my AI help. And I'm pretty proud of that. I've still got quite a bit to go on my project I entered for the hackathon with um the history one. Yeah, there's a lot to do on that. I've
The
got to
timelines.
develop a lot of I've got to develop a lot of the 3D parts to it and figure all that out. And with some of the newest developments with the AI that's going so fast, I just, you can't keep up every day. It's hard to listen to everything that's going on the daily that's been released or updated, and then trying to implement anything into your projects, because it's just, it's next to impossible to keep up. But yeah, I was trying to do like 5 different projects during the hackathon. And that was one of my biggest mistakes, was trying to do that. And this was one of them. I was trying to get entered into the hackathon, but the secret stash app, I didn't quite get there on that one. I did enter the history one, and then, I'd been working on my Jeweled Media site and my Jeweled.me site. And then I also have another one too I've been working on, is an AI Panda that will go hand in hand with the Jeweled Media. It's an interactive AI 3D panda. It's called AIPanda.me. And that is another project I was working on during the hackathon. So I would get so frustrated with errors, and I would jump on, I'd say, okay, I'm gonna have to stop on that one for a little while, and I'll go work on this other one for a little bit. And then, and then the same thing would happen. All these errors, you think you're hacking away at it, and you get down to, okay, I've just got one more error you think that you can bug to, get rid of. And then all of a sudden you've got 60 bugs, it's crazy. And so, yeah, it's, just that patience and trying to just keep, I, I don't know how many, I mean, literally the only kind of tech experiences I've had is through you guys and through um, YouTube videos, and that's it, and I just keep doing it until I come up with something, and usually I eventually do. I just have, like I said, I've got my intercom on this one worked out. I just need to connect it on the back end, but I wanted to kind of make sure I've got all my pages the way I want them before I do all of that. I'm still kind of I'm kind of paranoid. I don't know. I get paranoid with the intercom and the chat bots. I don't know why. I just, I worry about it saying something it shouldn't or being too aggressive, and because I can't stand the aggressiveness of some of these. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that there's always a layer of doubt if you care about the project and it manifests in different ways. I mean, if it didn't matter, yeah, you wouldn't be spending the hours in order to build and getting it done. And, if it didn't have some skin in the game, you know, um, I was talking to Star Boss. You know, we have lots of things that we're building behind the scenes, and sometimes when you write a big check, you know, to something, and you have a lot of expectations or dreams hung around that, and you're kind of waiting in the wings, and you're waiting, for all the pieces to kind of fall into place and things. There is those moments of doubts, and then you start to think yourself, well, what I could have done is, and then you get hung up on that. And the problem is at that moment, then you become stagnant and you don't move forward. And in those moments, when you are so paralyzed by your self doubt, that's the moment where, you lose that momentum, and getting started again is so hard. And catching up or getting that forward push and that nudge. And that's why, classes like this are really important. It forces you to show up. You know, it's not like a gym membership or college tuition where you've already paid a huge amount of money, and you think to yourself, well, I'm going to waste the money if I don't, go to the gym, or if I don't show up to class and my professor marks me off. It's a little bit different than that, because you're only stealing from yourself. It's a free class, but it costs more than anything else, because you're pushing everything else to a side and saying and giving permission to yourself to do the thing. And I think a lot of times that's the hardest part, is setting aside the time and saying, I'm going to build me. And especially for moms, that they put everything on hold for the kids. And I'm not saying that fathers don't, because they do too. My husband has worked in the same job for 30 years, and he looks at his picture of me and the kids, and every time he has a crappy day, he looks at his why, and then he sucks it up, buttercup, and then goes to work, right? We all have those moments, whether you're a pilot and you've got the picture of the sweetheart at home that's sitting there, and that's the reason that you come home, is because you're going to make the good decisions in order to stay awake and do the thing. So at any rate, I'm really proud of you, Julie, and you rose to the occasion. You had a lot of things going, a lot of things on your plate, and I will tell you, that goes for a lot of you in the audience. I know a lot of you had just a really, really heavy load. Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't want to make any excuses. Like, everybody has life happen, and I want it bad, but it just takes a lot of time, and I added it up. Like, I think I slept 6 hours during the entire week of hackathon, and that the rest of it was either with grandkids or it was doing this. So
But the
you
thing
just
is
depends on
you
how
can't
bad
get
you
that
want it.
time back.
No, you can't.
You
And
know,
I did spend that
no.
one night when I think I posted about that, hey, tonight I gave up and I'm just having a slumber party with the kids because I couldn't, I had to step away from it. It gets frustrating, but yeah, I love you guys and I appreciate everything. That's it.
I think it's awesome. and you did bring up something, but I will tell you this, you know, your life is more than work, and your life is more than, you know, building the thing too. You know, there's a definite balance, and I can tell you, time that's invested in, you know, loved ones, and the births and the deaths and the callings, and making sure your friends are okay, those are all important too. So we want to make sure that we do come up for air and have those proof of humans. And I will tell you, during the hackathon especially, our daily check-ins at 10 o'clock in the morning, was actually really refreshing. I think one night we had a different time, but it was really okay. Proof of human. I'm alive. I did it. You know, I might take a shower today. Fuzzy slippers on. Yes, we got it. But go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is true what you're saying, but when you were so sick for so long and you don't even remember over a decade hardly anything about what happened or what you did or didn't do, or and you're now 54 years old, you have a lot of time to make up for. So that's what I'm trying to do,
Amen,
is make
sister.
up for lost time.
Amen. I can definitely attest. And I can also say, you know, when you hear the tick tock in the back of your head, that is nothing focuses your attention like a firing squad in the morning. That is definitely true. All right. So we got through everybody that we needed. I am going to do my closing, and then Ross is going to talk, and then Cash Money Kev is going to jump in. There is no space for tomorrow. There is no idea to impact. For at least the next 2 weeks, we will have all of the bells and whistles. And I do think that, you know what, I can't say this for sure, but definitely next season's going to be different. Um, I, we learned a lot. I learned a lot too, in the hackathon. I learned, you know, obviously I don't have my teaching certificate. I am not an official teacher. I don't play one on TV either. Well, actually I do, but um, instructing in the capacity that I do as a mentor or as a volunteer, or even at Maker Faire, is in a different way. When you teach classes like I teach in a makerspace, it's not the same as, let's say, Starboss when she was a teacher, or Nick or Ross or Alisher when they teach in the public school system. Things have to follow certain order. And it's interesting because these online digital maker spaces are redefining what it means to be educated and how to get an education. And, you know, obviously I've mentioned this many times before, my children were hack schooled, right? They didn't go to public, they went to public school online, but it was a completely different environment. They were, you know, in maker spaces all over the world, right? Their education was hands-on completely, and it was self-initiated. So if they were interested in something, they got to build because they had unfettered access. They weren't strapped down by convention, right? And that's what you are. You are all hack schoolers. You are digesting the information and acquiring the education that you want on your terms, with your way of learning, your learning style. And it's really, really powerful. A lot of people are paying attention to it, and a lot of people paid attention to our hackathon. It caught the eyes of a lot of interesting folks, and interesting folks that think what you're doing is very special. It's not just us, the proud parents and little papa bears, that the mamarazzi taking pictures of all of the people here in the audience because I'm so proud of you. It's different than that. There are other people that are looking in and seeing, hey, this is actually viable, and these people are really changing their lives, and they are building really relevant things. You are, and you have to own that. You're building things that are very relevant and very needed out in the world. And I think it's wonderful that the spotlight is kind of shining on you and your projects. And so, um, yeah, I want to say thank you to Nick Gallisher and Ross. They have acquired some of the coolest sponsors. They've given us all the chance of a chance of a lifetime, opportunity of a lifetime, to really use some, I know, tools that I could never afford. I'll just say it straight up, you know. And for the kids that I work with, heck yeah, these are opportunities that they've gotten to participate. But not only that, they've had access. You know, during the course of the hackathon and during the course of this season, we got to talk to Martine from DigitalOcean. We've got to talk to Nicola from Daytona. These are people that wrote serious checks. And I'm not talking little. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of checks so that we could play. You know, we have Vercel, we have um, well, all of the other modal. We had some of the other sponsors, Intercom, and some of the tools that we use, Mintlify, and our whole entire ecosystem under the banner of 11 Labs, or even the Hatch program itself. These are all things that on our own accord we would not have access to. And so in the collective, all of us showing up, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And so each one of you making the individual choice to be a part of something bigger and to invest in yourself and gather on a Wednesday night in a big enough crowd that it piques the interest of these other folks, I think is pretty special. So I just want to say thank you to Nick, Alisher, and Ross, because the hustle that they do behind the scenes it's incredible. It's kind of like what Sharon was saying too. They work harder than anybody I know. It makes it look easy, but I can tell you the amount of time, the amount of effort, the amount of energy, the amount of sweat, tears, and toil that goes into building not just my AI tutor, Pixio, the machine. It's also teaching the teachers who are going to pass on that education to those students. It's passing the education on to us. It's crafting classes, crafting projects, crafting curriculum, crafting a giant prize for a hackathon, crafting the hackathon. These are all things that are done with such proficiency and lack of sleep and an abundance of coffee. And I just want to say thank you, because they don't take a vacation. They seldom do it. Step away from the computer, and they do the things so that we have the things that we need to succeed. And it's really, really important to me. Cash Money Kev too. He sacrifices a ton. That man worked very, very hard in making sure that the Innovators Think Tank site was all up and running, and at the sacrifice of even his own project. He was working on his season 9 project and immersing himself in one that it means sometimes there's a trade-off, an opportunity cost. And that opportunity cost ended up being the hackathon. But he showed up, and he was here for class, and he was here for the Thursday morning too. And I just want to commend him and say thank you for his sacrifice, because you know what? It's pretty special. You've never missed a session, Mr. Cash Money Kev, and I love you also to the moon and back. So Ross is going to give you the final check the boxes, make sure you don't do anything dumb and erase stuff that we can't find or whatnot. He's going to fill you in a little bit, probably give you a teaser about next season. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he might not. He could do that too. And then he will pass the mic off to Cash Money Kev. And then we're going to close this season out, folks. Season 9 was spectacular. The final is here, finale, as they say. And I couldn't be more proud of you. I just think I think it's fantastic what you've built. Each and every one of you go on to greatness. I'm insanely proud of you. If it's time to go to bed, you know the rules. All the good dreams catch you. If it's time to face the day, I hope it treats you kindly. And the rest of the week is just stellar for you folks. And if you're in harm's way, we did have a major earthquake last night, and scientists are saying that was a foreshock, which means that 8.7 may not be standing. It may be something bigger. And in which case, head to high ground, pay attention to nature. It knows more than you do and ahead of you do. If you see random things, flying into windows, or you see random things, beaching themselves, it's time to move to higher ground and, hustle. We want to see you make it through to the other side. If you need anything, obviously, make sure you check in with us. So, Ross, take it away.
Two important things. One, if you do not, or if you wanted cPanel, today is the final day that you can actually purchase cPanel through our hosting platform. Of course, you can go directly to cPanel and go directly to DigitalOcean and get your own. But if you want the discounted rate, today's the last day for sign up because when the seasons close, sign up also closes. Because this is not a public hosting service, it's mainly created for our students. So that's the first thing. Second thing, you guys all did so good. And we're really excited for the seasons to come. And we're filled with just not only happiness, but like it's really rewarding to see what you guys pull off. And I'm gonna pull a total switcheroo and tell you nothing. So I'm gonna go with option 3, Sarah. And
I'm just laughing. I'm laughing because I knew you were going to do this. I was looking for the stupid icon too. All I could find was the clappy thing or the horn or the fart sound, but I was going to play them all because I knew you were going to do this.
we are
I'm
working
excited.
really hard over the next 3 weeks to change how this is happening and make it better and bring in more partners and maybe have them come speak with you guys too. And we want to involve partners. We want to make it more official. We want to partner with like bigger organizations to really make what we're doing even better than what it is when even from just, the every 6-week classes to major events like hackathon. And hey, you never know, maybe the next one will be in person or a future one. And this is what we want to do. We want to grow this, not even community, because communities are something that could be like temporary. It's like a movement. It's like people taking control of what happens next. And then that's what's going to happen over the next few years. And that's why we have this course to help prep you all for these types of futuristic sounding now, very normal sounding later. So if you do want hosting, remember, you can get it today up until tonight. I mean, we'll do it tomorrow. Just generally, we wanted to keep it just till tonight. But if you have any issues, let us know. If you need help with season 9, 876-54321, head over to Slack. That's where that happens. When we're not live, we're there. We're always there because we have partners in Slack. And those of you using Machine, you're not even ready. You are not even ready for what's coming in 9.7. So just stay tuned for that. It's coming very, very soon. And it's going to be wild. I will just simply tell you that. And it is going to introduce new features and it's going to be smarter. And those of you waiting on the waiting list or using machine code right now, we are learning so much from your usage. Thanks so much for being part of the beta. Hopefully you're having fun. And we hope to roll it out to more people very, very soon. And one last thing, be sure to check Slack for any updates after this space, because there's going to be a few. So keep an eye out for the Slack channel when I do the everyone mention for some updates to what's going on. And pay attention to the AI Mastery Mighty Networks channel. Things are happening there too. And yeah, Cash Money Kev, you can close out the space. It's been fun. Oh, and guess what? We're gonna bombard Nick. Say hi, Nick. Hey guys. Hope you guys enjoyed
Hi,
this
Nick.
last sesh. We found Nick.
Okay.
But if you guys have any questions, you know where to find us. Obviously everywhere. So with that being said, Cash Money Kev, close it out.
Awesome, Ross. Great job, everybody. It's great to hear Nick as and I know Alistair's there in the background as well. And I just want to congratulate you guys. 9 seasons. This one was definitely the fastest, I feel like, because everybody was so busy. And the hackathon. And I can't wait for the second hackathon and what's in store. I know you guys are going to cook up